My name is Anthony De Lorenzo.
My name is Chris De Lorenzo.
My two grandparents came from different parts of Italy. One, Joe De Lorenzo, the De Lorenzo name, he came from an island, Strina, in the Aeolian Islands. He came as a young man. He met his future wife here, and her name was Anna Lettieri, and she had come from Naples with her family. Her father had been brought here. He was a master sweet and pastry maker. So his young daughter, Anna Lettieri, met Joe De Lorenzo, and that was the marriage that produced my father and Chris and Vincent's father, who started the hairdressing dynasty.
Growing up an Italian, Australian in the 70s, when you were at school, was interesting. At that time, there was still, is the word, animosities towards Greeks and Italians, who were probably the more prominent migrants. Even though I was second generation, there was still animosities, but my parents probably had it more. My father had it more when he was growing up in Redfern in the 20s, Redfern public school. So it wasn't the easiest place to go to. When I was growing up, we used to work in the factory and used to smell thioglycolic acid and hair care product perfume, so it's in the vein, so to speak.
My father and his brother Vincent, when they grew up in Redfern. Their parents had a fruit shop. Life was very hard.
The De Lorenzo story goes back to about 1930. The father and uncle were meant to be professional violinists, and about the end of the 20s, the thing called the Great Depression came, and their mother said to them, well, you better get a real job. So they went and became barbers' apprentices.
And so that was their entry into the hair care industry in Australia, and that would have been around 1930. The brothers decided to go to academies and train to be ladies' hairdressers. So while they worked in a barbershop in the day, they trained in the evenings to become ladies' hairdressers. They eventually went to work in the leading salon of the day in Sydney. They decided, well, we're good enough, let's open our own salon.
In 1945, they opened their first shop in the city, in Roe Place, which is what is MLC now. It's been demolished, and then they moved to the Trust Building, which is the corner of King and Castlereagh Street, a National Trust building. And they had a salon on the 7th floor, which is unusual because a lot of salons are ground floor, walk in, walk out. And they had a 40-station salon, which is unusual, and was busy and was the place to be in the 60s and 70s. In 1949, I think it was, my father was the Australian Hairdresser of the Year, which he never really spoke about, but it's a fact, so. And the uncle was up in the zone as well. They were just A-class hairdressers. At that time when they had the salon, so you can imagine 40 stations, you go through a lot of product, and a lot of the product came from overseas, and some of the closures on, this is when perms, they don't talk about perms anymore now, but the blue rinse and waves, and the closures would crack and they'd lose their potency, and they were getting a lot of rejected product. So they said, let's make our own, which is unbelievable. So they had to learn how to become cosmetic chemists. So while they had their job, they studied this.
This developed in their salon, which made their salon the leading salon in Australia, really. And it got to the point where some of the hairdressing friends said, look, can we get some of this product that you're using, the results that you get? So it came to the point where they said, okay, well, let's develop this into something commercial, and they developed a hair care brand called Delva, which was De Lorenzo, Vincent and Anton, which they launched in 1957 into the Australian market, and it was the first salon-only brand of hair care available. Prior to that, people bought hair care in the chemists and pharmacists.
Went through to about 79 when it was sold to Reckitt's and Coleman. And the salon they sold in about 73, so then they specialised in the Delva products, and then they retired, and then there was a segue, and then we started in the De Lorenzo format. So that's in a nutshell their story. The second generation came together, so it was the father, the uncle, my brother, my cousin and myself came together and said, why not, let's try it. We came together in 1987. We sent out the first order in June.
We got together and decided we could make a difference in the industry still, and we had a lot to contribute. So we came together as a family with a new concept, similar but new, a business to supply hairdressers, once again with products for them to use and to recommend, and this product would be natural based. So all of our products are vegan certified, and that was a tremendous achievement for us. We have a successful Australian-made company. I'm just proud that we're able to deliver the highest quality products with such ethical standards.
The highlight is starting something, not knowing how it would go, and then actually becoming successful. The fact the gates are still open after 30 plus years is in a ever competitive environment I think that is a highlight.
Vincent, his life in the industry was awarded just after retirement with a feature on This Is Your Life, which was a pretty special time for him, where his contribution to the industry was recognised along with Dad's in the industry. When Vincent passed, he was ordered the Order of Australia for services to hairdressing. So that was a tremendous excitement for the family. More recently, the Vincent and Anton were awarded a lifetime recognition in the Hall of Fame for the Hairdressing Expo Awards.
We have a long way to go. We've only been in this format for 30 plus years, whereas some of our competitors have been at it for 80, 100 years. So in Australia, we still have a long way to go to get our range complete. We will always keep the sustainability feature going as part of our product, plant-based ingredients where possible, recyclability, trying to get to that magical low -0 emission. Export, we need to We're working to get our license to export out of Australia. We go to New Zealand at the moment, which is, call it the Anzac thing, but export and just keeping up. It's because it's a fashion industry, you need to freshen up your product images, your products all the time, so there's always something to be done. We don't get bored. They have a saying that it takes 3 generations for a migrating nation to assimilate into another country, and I think because Italians have been here, well, the biggest enclave came after WW2, so if they've had more than their 3 generations, and I see them complementing and being Australians in the future. So I think they still have a lot to give, and Australia wins and the Italo-Australians win. Good for both.
Buonasera, salute!